Gunther versus Brock Lesnar confirmed for Mania, the best and worst of WWE Raw. Triple H blew his chances to make things right on Raw. A massive update on Chris Jericho after he missed Raw. Chris Jericho Easter eggs you probably missed on Raw. Why Becky Lynch dethroned Maxxine Dupri. Why Rhea Ripley and Sky won the Women's Tag Team Championships. CM Punk drops the World Heavyweight title on the Raw. Let's dive right in. The best and worst of WWE Raw. This week's episode of Raw kicked off the year 2026 for WWE. It was a special anniversary episode on Netflix in collaboration with the popular show Stranger Things. As a result, fans had significant hype for the show, and it can be said that Triple H delivered on that hype with the event itself. Overall, the show was filled with impactful moments that have now changed the landscape of WWE. Raw was headlined by a stellar World Heavyweight Championship match between CM Punk and rising star Braun Breaker, but it was not the only title match on the show. Becky Lynch also became the new Women's Intercontinental Champion by defeating Maxxine Dupri in an incredible bout. All that and more happened this week, raising the excitement of the fans more than ever. Number 1. The best, kicking off AJ Styles versus Gunther. AJ Styles and Gunther were involved in a solid face-off this week on Raw. It was an amazing follow-up to their intense confrontation a few weeks ago in the parking lot. Many fans believe that 2026 will be the final year for the phenomenal one. Therefore, a segment on the first Raw of the year featuring inarguably the biggest heel in WWE was a good idea by Triple H. Additionally, WWE has confirmed that the two stars will collide in a singles match next week on Monday Night Raw in Germany. Fans have been eagerly anticipating a showdown between them for ages. The Raw segment, where the two exchanged heated words, was enough to raise excitement about next week's showdown in Europe. Number 2. The worst. No mention of Dominik Mysterio and the Intercontinental Championship. Dominik Mysterio won the Intercontinental Championship back from John Cena at Survivor Series War Games. That was over a month ago, and he's yet to make his first defense. Commentary announced last week that he'd be out indefinitely but didn't say anything about the fate of the Intercontinental title. If he's out indefinitely, shouldn't the title at least be vacated so it can be on Raw? Nothing was mentioned this week about Dom's injury or the title, making it seem like an afterthought. Number 3. The best. Becky Lynch becoming the new Women's Intercontinental Champion. Becky Lynch went on to defeat Maxxine Dupri in an amazing Women's Intercontinental Championship showdown. While Dupri was a pretty good babyface champion, WWE needed a main event star to carry the championship gold on the road to WrestleMania 42. Therefore, giving back the title to the man was a wise decision by Triple H. Besides, the ending of the match was framed in such a way that it does not affect the credibility of Maxxine Dupri. In fact, the short title reign and the feud with Becky Lynch have certainly raised Maxine's popularity. Now she can be involved in another feud before making her way to the mid-card title scene. Meanwhile, big-time Bex can re-establish herself as a true heel to elevate some other stars down the line. Number 4. The worst. Having the Usos preempt Stephanie Vaquer on Raw. Stephanie Vaquer was seen walking backstage about halfway through Raw. She was wearing a walking boot and was headed out to the ring. After a commercial break, the Usos came out to cut a boring promo in the crowd before Vaquer. They said they're the best team in the world after doing all their catchphrases. Vaquer's segment literally followed that, giving fans 2 promo segments back-to-back. Officials should have had the Usos cut the promo between 2 other matches or not at all. It broke up the pacing for Vaquer and her announcement, especially since more happened in her segment. It didn't build any anticipation if that was the intent. Number 5. The best. Good showing to Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan faced Lyra Valkyria on Raw this week. The former Women's World Champion delivered an impactful performance on the first Raw of 2026. It was her first live TV match since her shoulder injury in June 2025, so fans were eager to see Morgan in action. Not only did she dominate the entire match, but she even managed to pick up the win against the Bird Lady. Moreover, with that win over Valkyria, Liv Morgan has fueled her momentum heading into the Royal Rumble 2026 event in Saudi Arabia. Many believe the former Women's World Champion is one of the frontrunners to win this year's Women's Royal Rumble. If that is the case, Triple H did an amazing job in putting Liv Morgan in focus for such a big episode of Raw. Number 6. The worst. Still recycling the same challengers. WWE bookers literally have no new ideas for challengers to its 2 women's title holders. Raquel Rodriguez seems to be the only woman who cares about the women's world title, but she has already lost twice. The same goes for Ivy Nile, who lost to both Lyra Valkyria and Maxxine Dupri when each was champion. Nile serves no other purpose than that, and doesn't seem like a main roster star. Officials desperately need to pivot to different feuds for both champions, even with Becky Lynch regaining the Women's Intercontinental title. Number 7. The best. Rhea Ripley and Sky taking over as the new champions. Rhea Ripley and Sky got their much-awaited Women's Tag Team title match against the Kabuki Warriors on Raw this Monday night. The match kicked off the show, and it was enough to set the tone for the rest of the night. While the action was epic, the highlight was that Ripley and Sky became the new Women's Tag Team champions in WWE. Fans have been enjoying the partnership between the 2 former Women's World Champions for a long time. They have been amazing babyfaces on the Red brand for a while. Therefore, it was a good decision to put the Women's Tag Team titles on their shoulders ahead of the road to WrestleMania. Their star power would elevate the titles and spark fans' interest in the Women's Tag division. Number 8. The worst. The Judgment Day really isn't on the same page. Before Raw officially began with introductions, many stars were seen arriving for the show. The Judgment Day entered as a group, but only the women had segments. Rodriguez attacked Vaquer without her stablemates, expressing her anger after failing to win the title last week. Roxanne Perez then came out for Liv Morgan's match against Valkyria. It was odd that they acted as if nothing had happened, especially since they all claimed to want to win gold. Number 9. The best. CM Punk retaining the World Heavyweight Championship on WWE Raw. CM Punk defeated Braun Breaker to retain his World Heavyweight Championship in an amazing main event. It has been 2 months since Punk became champion, but WWE has not done anything impactful with his reign until now. His showdown with Breaker has been making a lot of people talk on the internet, something WWE needs right now ahead of the Royal Rumble. Besides, the match did a fine job of elevating Braun Breaker as a true threat to the World Heavyweight Championship. Triple H wisely delivered a close-to-perfect match while leaving the door open for a potential rematch between the two down the line. Additionally, many believe that Breaker needs to win the title at a big stage like WrestleMania. Hence, Punk's win was an apt decision for the time being. Number 10. The worst. One of the most predictable title changes ever. If you've watched the WWE Women's Tag Team division over the last few months, it may seem like Asuka and Kairi Sane aren't really the champions. The Kabuki Warriors have lost nearly every match as champions, mostly to prop up challengers. They've fallen to Lash Legend and Nia Jax, as well as to Rhea Ripley and Sky on several occasions across different matches. Consistently coming up short against the challengers used to be a misdirection that things would end differently in the title match. That didn't happen when Ripley and Sky predictably defeated Sane and Asuka for the titles. Officials should have just handed them the titles instead of drawing things out and making it seem like the Kabuki Warriors had a chance. If the outcome had been different, it would have at least made the time worthwhile. Triple H blew his chances to make things right on Raw. The first episode of WWE Raw in 2026 featured a World Heavyweight Championship match in the main event. CM Punk retained his title against Braun Breaker after a hard-fought match, which also had a number of interferences. In the weeks leading up to the match, Breaker showed a dramatic improvement in his mic skills. The youngster went toe-to-toe with CM Punk, one of the best on the mic, and was very convincing with his promos. However, WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H chose to have Punk retain his title. While fans were quite happy with the outcome owing to Punk's popularity as one of the top babyfaces in the company, it doesn't seem to bode well for the company's long-term plans. The Stamford-based promotion has come under fire for putting their trust only in older wrestlers. So much so that there hasn't been a world champion under the age of 30 in the last decade. Of all possible contenders, Braun Breaker seemed the most likely to break the streak. However, his wait for his first world title will go on at least for the next few weeks. Despite interferences from members of the Vision, Rey Mysterio, Penta, and Dragon Lee, the finish of the match was relatively clean. Punk managed to pin Breaker after hitting him with the GTS without much else going on. As a result, there is a question mark over Breaker getting another world title shot anytime soon, since he was defeated quite convincingly. Instead of having Punk retain the title, Triple H could have booked Breaker to win the world title for a shocking end to the first show of the year. This would have sent shockwaves across the company and would have immediately piqued fan interest. While Punk retaining is not a bad decision by any means, owing to his incredible popularity, the fact that he did so without much debate felt like an underwhelming finish. Therefore, it feels like this was a missed opportunity for the company to book a dramatic twist. A massive update on Chris Jericho after he missed Raw. Heading into this week's WWE Raw, fans were incredibly excited to see the return of former AEW champion Chris Jericho, who was rumored to appear at the MSG show. However, the Le Champion was nowhere to be seen, and PW Insider is now reporting that he was never slated to appear at the event in the first place. Over the last few weeks, there's been rampant speculation regarding Chris Jericho's WWE return after spending the last 6 years of his career in AEW. Furthermore, Adam Pearce got the fans buzzing even more before Raw when he dropped a blatant Jericho reference. As such, the crowd in the MSG arena chanted Y2J multiple times in hopes of seeing the beloved star pop up. Despite all the hype, Jericho was absent from Raw. Following the show, PW Insider reported that the former AEW champion was never scheduled for the night and that Pearce's reference before Raw was about Stranger Things. While it's safe to say Jericho will show up in WWE sooner or later, there's still uncertainty over how he would be presented on screen. Jonathan Coachman firmly believes the promotion shouldn't have Jericho as an in-ring worker. Speaking on his Coach and Bro show, Coachman said that a performer of Y2J's caliber could shine even in a non-wrestling role if supported by the right booking. He can't come in and wrestle at all. He doesn't need to. We're talking about Chris Jericho here. He does not need to wrestle. You just need to get him in the right role and give him good creative. That's all he needs. With Royal Rumble scheduled at the end of the month, there's a strong possibility that he could reintroduce Jericho in the Men's Rumble match. However, if there's one roadblock for WWE, it's that Chris Jericho is reportedly still on AEW's internal roster, meaning his contract might not be up yet. Chris Jericho Easter eggs you probably missed on Raw. Despite the anticipation, Chris Jericho didn't return to WWE Raw this week. The fans were hoping for his comeback at the last second of the show, but it ended with CM Punk celebrating his victory over Braun Breaker. Meanwhile, throughout the show, there were some hidden Easter eggs you probably missed regarding Y2J. Let's have a look at those in brief. When CM Punk faced Braun Breaker in the main event, there was a reference to the Learning Tree. This happened when Corey Graves mentioned Paul Heyman's past relationship with the Second City Saint. During this, he cited that the best in the world was part of the Learning Tree of Paul Heyman. For those who might not know, the Learning Tree was a faction in the All Elite Wrestling promotion led by Chris Jericho, along with Big Bill and Brian Keith. They also appeared as a group in the Ring of Honor. So So the reference to the learning tree doesn't seem generic, but an Easter egg related to Jericho. When Liv Morgan faced Lyra Valkyria on the show, the crowd started chanting Y2J, an apparent reference to Chris Jericho. In response to these chants, Morgan used DX chops and mocked the crowd. The actions of the Judgment Day member received a major reaction from the crowd, and it seemed like another Easter egg connected to the ex-AEW star. During the opening match of the show, Kairi Sane executed Walls of Jericho on Sky. For those unaware, Walls of Jericho is one of the veteran's most iconic signature moves, which appears to be an elevated version of the Boston Crab submission. The use of this move during the show appears to be another Easter egg for Jericho. WWE may be dropping hints intentionally to generate more buzz about Jericho's comeback. Besides this, Asuka also used Codebreaker during the match. Though the Empress of Tomorrow uses this move often in the ring, but still amid current rumors, this makes more sense. So, these are some of the Chris Jericho Easter eggs that were dropped on the first episode of WWE Raw in 2026. Why Becky Lynch dethroned Maxxine Dupri. Raw witnessed a major surprise when Becky Lynch dethroned Maxxine Dupri and became the new Women's IC champion. The man used her impressive in-ring instinct and tricked Dupri to take the title. Let's look at why the Irish star dethroned Maxxine and became a two-time Women's Intercontinental Champion. One of the major reasons for the title change on Raw could be Maxxine Dupri's lack of direction as the title holder. She dethroned Lynch a few weeks back, but after this, she hasn't had any proper feud as the champion except against the man. This shows that the Stamford-based promotion lacks creative direction for Dupri, which could be why Becky Lynch dethroned her on Raw and regained the mid-card title. When Maxxine Dupri dethroned Becky Lynch, it seemed that the company had no plans to give the former Alpha Academy member a longer title reign. This is evident from the recent title change, which occurred during the first episode of Raw in 2026. It appears that the only reason why Maxxine won the Women's IC title was to escalate her status as a single star in the women's division. Now that Dupri proved herself to the world, WWE returned the title to Becky's shoulder. Another reason for the title switch on Monday Night Raw could be WWE's intention to set the stage for the Lynch versus Lee Women's IC Championship feud. Since the return of the former Divas champion, Lynch and AJ have yet to settle the scores in a singles feud. The championship victory of the man will allow the Triple H-led creative regime to book a title feud between them. The next premium live event of the Stamford-based promotion is Royal Rumble 2026, which will stream live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's likely that in the upcoming weeks, AJ Lee will make her comeback and challenge Becky Lynch for the Women's IC title. This could then lead to a match between them getting official for the Royal Rumble PLE or WrestleMania 42. So, these could be the potential reasons behind the title change on Monday Night Raw. Why Rhea Ripley and Sky won the Women's Tag Team Championships. The first episode of WWE Raw in 2026 kicked off with a Women's Tag Team title match where the Kabuki Warriors defended their championship against Rhea Ripley and Sky. The match concluded with a title change when the Eradicator and the Genius of the Sky pinned Asuka, making them the new champions. Why Ripley and Sky are the new Women's Tag Team Champions on the Red brand. WWE is moving toward the Royal Rumble 2026 Premium Live event, scheduled to take place by the end of this month. The title change on Monday Night Raw seems to have happened because the Stamford-based promotion has no singles plans for Ripley and Sky. This could be why they decided to put the tag team titles on their shoulders. With this title change, Triple H's creative team only needs to book Rhea and Sky to defend their tag team gold ahead of WWE WrestleMania 42. Over the past few months, fans have been anticipating the Eradicator's heel turn, but it has yet to unfold. The tag team title switch could be used to set the stage for Mami's heel turn. In the coming weeks, whenever Rhea and Sky lose their tag team championship, the former Judgment Day member may turn heel in frustration and attack the Genius of the Sky. This could lead to a match between them at WrestleMania 42, with Ripley as a villainous star and Sky as a babyface. The latest edition of WWE Raw was the first episode of Monday Night Raw in 2026. Usually, on such special occasions, the Stamford-based promotion executes surprises and unexpected title changes. Putting titles on Rhea Ripley and Sky could be a way to add a surprise to the show and make it more memorable. This title switch provided a surprising opening to the Monday Night Raw episode and got fans tuning in for the rest of the show. It remains to be seen how things will unfold in the coming weeks as Rhea Ripley and Sky are the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. CM Punk drops the World Heavyweight title on Raw. CM Punk retained the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event of the Raw on Netflix's first anniversary. However, he quite literally dropped the title after the match was over. For those who don't know, dropping the title is wrestling lingo for when a superstar loses their championship. While it might have sounded that way, that wasn't actually what happened on Raw. In the main event, CM Punk went to war with a game Braun Breaker, who proved that a world championship will be there for him in the future. But that future isn't just yet, no matter how frustrated he might feel about it. This is because Breaker expressed anger over how people keep saying he's a future world champion and a future WrestleMania main eventer. Unfortunately for him, the present runs through Punk. In a hilarious moment right after CM Punk won the match, he would quite literally drop the world title. Punk is still the World Heavyweight Champion, and the road to the Royal Rumble has officially begun, although no mention was made about any matches in the Rumble. It's going to be interesting to see what happens happens because there is an edition of Saturday night's main event right before the Rumble, meaning that the big show in Saudi Arabia is likely going to only have 4 matches or so, 2 of which will be the namesake Royal Rumble matches. Now that his feud with Braun Breaker is seemingly done, one can only wonder what lies ahead for the man who rightfully calls himself the best in the world. He certainly proved that tonight by taking on one of the hottest prospects in all of wrestling, and he could be WrestleMania bound with the world title around his waist. Gunther versus Brock Lesnar confirmed for Mania. WWE delivered an amazing episode of WWE Raw this week to kick off 2026. The stage is now set for the rest of the year and for the next PLE Royal Rumble that will kick off the road to WrestleMania 42. This year, the show of shows will return to Las Vegas for another year to have one of the biggest wrestling weekends of all time. And with this week's Raw, WWE might have just teased what is in store for the spectacle. Last night's show featured a stellar main event bout between CM Punk and Braun Breaker for the World Heavyweight Champion. Meanwhile, the Women's Intercontinental Championship and the Women's Tag Team Championships changed hands on the show this week. But now, fans wonder what could be in store for WrestleMania 42 moving forward. Gunther faced off with AJ Styles this week on Raw. Now the two stars are set to collide on next week's episode of the show in Germany. There were rumors that AJ Styles could be the Ring General's opponent for WrestleMania 42, but that no longer looks like the case now. Therefore, there is a good possibility that Gunther might face another big star at WrestleMania 42. He could be none other than Brock Lesnar, who has been rumored to face the Ring General for a long time. Since the Beast's comeback at SummerSlam, fans have been clamoring to see him cross paths with Gunther on Raw. WWE might be saving that for the big stage, like Mania 42. With Styles no longer in the mix as a potential WrestleMania opponent for Gunther, Lesnar could very well emerge as the frontrunner. Becky Lynch became the new Women's Intercontinental Champion by defeating Maxxine Dupri this week on Raw. The man has long been rumored to be in line to face AJ Lee at Mania 42. With tonight's win against Dupri, it is pretty clear that the man will face the Black Widow for the Women's Intercontinental Championship at the grandest stage of them all. Besides, WWE has been stretching this feud for a long time, which makes it likely that the company is saving this showdown for a bigger stage. Besides, Lee has hinted that she is interested in becoming the new Women's Intercontinental Champion down the line. Therefore, it is now likelier than ever that Lynch and Lee are set to collide at WrestleMania for the mid-card title. Liv Morgan is currently the frontrunner to win this year's Women's Royal Rumble match. Morgan won her match with Lyra Valkyria this week on Raw, fueling her momentum for the big 30-woman match. Besides, Rhea Ripley and Sky won the Women's Tag Team Championships, making it clear that they are likely to be busy in the tag division on the road to WrestleMania. Meanwhile, Stephanie Vaquer is expected to be sidelined for a while to deal with her foot injury. Therefore, all of this could lead to Liv Morgan's rise to the epitome of the women's division on the road to the show of shows. It could very well pave the way for Morgan taking the Women's World Championship at the grandest stage of them all. Braun Breaker competed for the World Heavyweight Championship in a losing effort against CM Punk. The 28-year-old star delivered an impactful performance where he was inches away from becoming the new champion. But the best in the world managed to put away the young star to retain his title. However, WWE subtly made it confirmed that Breaker will win the World Heavyweight Championship soon. Many fans believe that Breaker will win his first world title at a big stage like WrestleMania. Now that the dog of WWE failed to win the title on the first Raw of 2026, it is pretty clear that WWE is setting him up to win the championship at WrestleMania 42. The company envisions Breaker as a future face of the company, and his first world title win at WrestleMania would propel him on a legendary path.